Can you think beyond 3 years? I can't. We are in a place now where we are seeing the S-curve happen for Bombay Shaving Company.
First of all, every long term is a collection of short terms. If the short term does not work, there is going to be no long term.
Now, for example, in the journey of BSc, who take the final call? Because board is chasing certain different metrics with the company.
We are also in a stage where we are bringing in a lot of manufacturing, especially for our core categories like trimmers, into India.
If you are thinking about making the best trimmer in the world, just by designing the best trimmer in the world, you're not going to make it.
Correct.
So the architect metaphor of building a business is,
How do you think we should think about expansion? Like if you want to build, let's say, a 4,000 crore top line business, we don't have a line of sight on the next 2,000 crores.
sorry, what I'm going to say is going to sound a bit brutal.
Welcome Adi back to the BarberShop. So this BarberShop, in fact, this season we have 2-3 formats. Okay, one format is what we just did for 2 episodes. Kulke Scale. Deepak, you were part of the ideation but not part of the episode. So we had 2 amazing companies come in early stage with real life problems, and Adi helped to problem solve those top of mind problems for the founders. So welcome back. And I think this is one of the most unplanned episodes. We of course have our co-founder and chief operating officer Deepak to come, and we have 30 minutes. So Adi, like we were having lunch,
Yeah.
and I was thinking with Deepak that we are in a place now where we are seeing the S-curve happen for Bombay Shaving Company. We are in the process of finalizing our AOP for FY27. We're presenting it to the board literally in a couple of days. Wanted to take like some advice from you on how do we think long term for the company. I think 1 or 2 years, doubling the business, taking the company public, kind of building equity within the brand through innovation. I think that you will get a sense that the team also will be on top of. But how do we think about this in decades? I think would be something that maybe Deepak and I have top of mind, and we don't know how to do it. And given that you've built companies over decades, and you've seen those cycles play out not only in India but also outside, wanted to just get some fresh perspective from you on how do we think long term. I don't know whether you have some top of mind.
No, I would like to add actually, for us, sometimes long term can also be short. So what is actually long term in your view? We have just completed 10 years in October. For us, it's a decade, and I think even now we think 3 to 5 years is where we want to be. So I think to start with, we would love to know what is long term according to you.
Can you think beyond 3 years? I can't. I don't think anyone can. We genuinely can't see beyond.
Yeah.
FY28, we'll have some line of sight. We don't know at all what 32, 33.
Yeah.
Should we have a view? Should we not? How do we think about like long term business?
The business in a sense is like driving through fog. And vision is how far your headlights can go. And how far you can go defines where you can steer. But people like me have been very lucky and kind of mollycoddled compared to you guys, because I think you guys have done something much more significant. You built something from 0 to 1 and now 1 to 10, I'd say. Whereas we have, me and my generation, we've been lucky to stand on the shoulders of giants who did this 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So actually, if you look at the contribution that my generation would have made, even though it looks like a large business, I'd say it's less than what you guys have made. Because you guys have created the act of creation, ask any mother, is much more important and difficult than the act of growth. Both are important.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't minimize the impact. So now think about it in the context of almost a human life. You're born and you're 10 years old. Every incremental year is 10% of your life. Every year, you're building 10% of your cumulative learnings or more, maybe. Now let's say you're an established company, you're 100 years old. Every year is 0.7% of your life.
Yeah.
So the importance of every year to someone who's 150 years old is much less than the importance of every year to someone who's 10 years old.
Oh, that's an interesting way to think
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
Right? So from that perspective, for you guys, it's no surprise that you say that there is, every 3 years is a lot, because 3 years is 5 years is 50% of the length of time that the company's been alive.
Yeah.
So the equivalent for Reckitt is 75 years. Right? So now what allows companies like that to drive confidently in the fog is because they are on a racetrack where the track is defined. So they know that if they keep driving, as long as the light shows them that the next year or two is clear, the pathway is known, and therefore they know they can't go adrift because they're driving on a road that's already built.
Yeah.
In your case, you don't even know whether the road exists 3 years from now, or 5 years from now. So for you to think 5 years, 7 years is difficult, and it should be. So I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking about it. But how I would suggest that you think about it is, first of all, every long term is a collection of short terms. If the short term does not work, there is going to be no long term. And you guys are young enough to know that.
Yeah.
Right? And also you guys, while you've built a lot of stability and scale, you still are vulnerable. You're certainly vulnerable compared to a much larger company. Your cash reserves are not so strong. You've got a lot of consumer equity, but it's not as strong as a company that's been as a Unilever in India.
For sure.
Right? So from that perspective, you have to focus much more on the short term. But what you want to do is, broadly, you need to know where the long term is aiming and do the right things in the short term, which are in the right direction in the long term. Eventually, the long term will resolve itself, and you would have done the things that enable you to go there.
Yeah.
That's the way I would frame the long term in directional terms, rather than very specific targets that, we will do exactly, we'll be 10 times from now in 12 years. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I think there's no value in setting those kind of objectives. But to say that we want to play in the field of helping men and women be confident about their hair.
Yeah.
And there are today 1.4 billion people in India, and that's going to be 1.7 billion people. And we want to help 30, 40, 50% of these people over the next 50 years.
Yeah.
Is a big enough canvas. And if you do that, then, eventually, if you have $5 billion or 6, the marginal billion does not really matter. The point is you have a lot of billions of dollars, and that's what you'll end up having, right? Even though Elon Musk may not agree with that.
Very interesting. Especially, I think 10% learning because of the history of the company, and we still have kind of lot of headroom to continue to learn and innovate and accelerate is a very amazing way to look at how a younger company should behave versus a large company. Because we can do a lot more.
So there's a framework that I recently wrote about for this. I thought a long time, and this came from what I saw in China. So in the last year or so, I've been seeing Chinese companies out-innovate and out-compete all kinds of Western companies. And we discussed this. There was a few charts I showed in our podcast. So I tried to distill it down into what they are doing. And here is a way to think about it. So we know what genes are. Genes are essentially genetic material that self-propagates and that becomes organisms. So we are a function of our genes. We know what memes are. So meme is a germ of an idea, and the idea is viral. So the idea spreads.
Yeah.
And that creates awareness. So memes drive awareness. So I've invented a new term called XEMES, XEMES. So what is a XEME? Basically, it's an experiment that a company does, which has a result, which then results in a codification and change of that behavior.
Okay.
So this can be company, country. So for example, the first time somebody saw a round rock and rolled it, they realized it's a wheel, and they told someone else. That's a XEME.
Yeah.
Right? Now you can take that XEME and make a building block of XEMEs, like you can have a building block of genes to create a human. And then eventually the wheel becomes a chariot, and the chariot becomes a car, and a car. So XEMEs build up on top of each other. So why is China winning? Because they have accelerated their pace of innovation. So what they are doing is, in any industry or category, they are creating more XEMEs per minute or per year than anybody else, and you can see that in the number of patents that they file, which is more than the US or India or anybody else, and those are all learnings which are compounding. So XEMES is a way of compounding learning. So when you now think of a company like Unilever or a Reckitt, they have had 100 years of XEMES which are compounded, and all that institutional learning makes that company special.
Yeah.
But the new XEMES that they are generating in every category now perhaps is very slow compared to what it used to be.
And that's the advantage that, for
And
example,
that's
younger companies
the
might have.
advantage that you have. So you have the advantage of generating
A lot of XEMES.
more XEMES in every category, and that's about the velocity of decision making and taking the friction out.
Yeah.
So the way to build institutional memory and to grow your business faster is to maximize the number of XEMES in every brand, in every channel, which means number of experiments where you have a result which changed your decision.
Yeah.
And that, if you do the faster you do that, the faster you will grow.
And in the context of India, because I think everyone is talking about the potential India has and growth story. I think you in the previous podcast also have spoken a lot about India, China. Why India is not able to create so many XEMES? Is it because of the jugaad mentality? Because like you said, it has to be codified, and we are trying to kind of hustle our way through.
I think India does create a lot of XEMES. I don't think it's...
No, but I was asking in proportion to, for example, China. Because challenges...
So the question to ask is, at a similar stage in development, which is, as you know, my framework says that India is 15 years behind China.
Yeah.
So 15 years ago, what China was doing, is India broadly in the same zone or not? And I'd say, I don't know, but I think it may be 50, 60, 70% of what China was 15 years ago. I mean, just to give you an interesting statistic, it's not a XEMES statistic, it's a statistic of incremental export. So China has delivered, India has delivered, I think, maybe 15 or 17 or 20% of the export surplus or incremental export that China has delivered. But if you compare it with the European Union, India may be at 50, 60% already, right? And that's so much of a bigger economy. So I think India is also accelerating. Is it at the same pace as China? Don't know. Let's see for the next 10 years. But even if it underperforms China by 50%, it still will outperform what we think is possible, because I think we all underestimate economies like India and China in the long term, and we overestimate it in the short term.
But I think I want to ask you a question on two parts. One is, of course, on, you touched upon export. We are also in a stage where we are bringing in a lot of manufacturing, especially for our core categories like trimmers, into India. We are building the capabilities to do it. We're building design capabilities. How important is that going to be over the next 10, 15 years from a national and from a company context? And the second question, which maybe is unrelated, kind of unrelated, but loosely related, is around how do we create talent density in the organization across levels, especially given AI and the importance of a world where creative indexation is very high for like companies like us. So making and then building teams that are high on talent.
It's a big challenge for India to build manufacturing capability and jobs in the short term, because it's difficult. Why is it difficult? We saw it in the previous podcast, where if you have toys which you can import from China, which are a higher quality and lower price than what you can make yourself, then why import? Why produce? Right. So everything tells you that the commercially right decision is to import, and most businesses will make the commercially right decision. But on the flip side, if you say that your core ambition is to be the world leader in trimmers, and you think it's possible, and it may take you 15 years or 20 years, which is the kind of time frames that Chinese companies would think in, then things change very much, because the reason you're building manufacturing locally is strategic. It's not financial, and you are conscious you're paying a cost for it in the short term.
And how do we build that mindset? That's a good question. How do we build this mindset? We want to build this for the next 20 years, because I don't think we have the courage. Even if we can, theoretically, the courage to invest behind it and to raise capital for it, or to have the patience on that capital at an individual level also, at an ecosystem level also, is much lower. So how does a company like us do that?
So a company like us does that by doing a calculation in the long term and saying that the size of prize is so big that whatever investment we are doing now is more than justified. And you have a personal ambition and drive to make it happen. But let's come to that in a second.
Yeah.
The benefit of spending that extra money and building that manufacturing here is you start building XEMES locally in your manufacturing. So eventually, if you're thinking about making the best trimmer in the world, just by designing the best trimmer in the world, you're not going to make it.
Correct.
Unless you know the manufacturing feasibility, what are the materials, how those blades are coated, what is the cutting edge there, how can that cutting edge be improved.
You start improvising on that.
You will start building XEMES on all of that. Once you've done 10 years of that with a team that is relatively consistent and steady, who's building this,
and those feedback loops.
and those feedback loop, each feedback loop is a XEME. So you build like 1 million XEMES on just that. And now suddenly you have an unassailable advantage in quality. Now suddenly when you are in the launch in the US, the Chinese companies can't compete with you because your product is so much superior. And now you have a disproportionate share of the global profit pool. And now it all makes sense. And now you can see.
How do you underwrite something like that? How do you
So two ways. One is you make a massive bet and say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend $500 million and make a big bet and stake my credibility on it. Bad idea. Because the chances of failure are high. The other way to do it is, listen, I could have built a business that's a 25 EBITDA business. I'm going to build a business that's 19 EBITDA. This 4%, I'm investing in this. In any case, it's a good thing to do to invest because we live in a world of geopolitical uncertainty. And I may be paying more, but I'm reassured that if there is a geographic political divide, my business is secure. If India puts tariffs on China or the US or vice versa, I am not at the mercy of external forces. And for that pleasure of that, I take a lower margin and I value my company lower for the next 15 years.
And then hopefully the valuation also goes.
And then hopefully, because I'm adding so many XEMES locally, that makes such a big difference that it more than covers up in the long term.
Challenge with the younger companies like us is, I think what you mentioned is strategic versus financial. Because of the limited capital, most of the strategy decisions also get looked in the light of financial. So, and I think now, for example, in the journey of BSC, who take the final call? It's because board is chasing certain different metrics with the company. We are trying to kind of
so ownership is now divided in people who may have very different windows of looking at the company also.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anybody who's looking at the company short term?
On and off.
Who?
Financial investors, for example, someone like the gentleman you met outside.
So in that case, the question is, are they the right investors for you in the long term?
Possibly not.
So you meet, there are many ships that pass in the night and passengers may transfer in terms of transferring some money from here to there, but they may not be your
long-term bets.
So listen, again, it also depends on you as a founder. So eventually, if your basic needs are met, your financial needs are met, your ego needs are met, in general, you set up a business that is stable and kind of runs. You have time to do other things, right? You can develop yourself in many other ways. And now you've created a platform that is self-sustaining. And now you need to set up systems in this platform so it evolves in a particular direction. So you become eventually, to begin with, everyone is like an architect. So the architect metaphor of building a business is that everything has a plan. So the architect designs the plan, somebody approves it, the board. Then somebody agrees the resources, what will this building cost, board. And then these resources show up in the bank, investors. And then basically the masons and people come and start executing the architect's plan, minions. So, and as these people are doing this, actually if the architect gets it wrong, then there's a big problem because the walls will not add up, the roof will fall down, it won't work, right? So, and it's a very Western concept of business, architect. Then there is another one which is the gardener. The gardener metaphor is very different. The gardener metaphor is that, listen, I know that this is broadly what an apple tree looks like. I'm going to plant an apple seed. And now I'm going to plant 20 apple seeds. Now I can't put exactly 3 feet up exactly whether a leaf will be there, but I know broadly there'll be an apple tree looking thing here and it will give apples. Now there are 20 plants that I've put. Whose responsibility is it to grow? In the architect's thing, the responsibility is the people. In the gardener's thing, it is the tree's responsibility. So the gardener, is he focused on each tree? No, he's basically improving the conditions, he's removing the weeds, he's watering it, but he's conscious that 5 out of 10 will die, and that's okay. But you still will end up with a beautiful garden that is going to continue to grow and
give you apples.
Give you apples. So you get at some point to a business where you think about setting up the right behaviors for the long term that generate the themes, that will generate the learnings, that will generate the differentiation, that will generate that. And you're focused on making those behaviors happen rather than personally executing them all the time. So, again, the question, you said that a small new company does not have the cash.
Yeah, it's just limited capital. So
and it's right. Yeah. But it depends on how you see it. Another way to see it is that you are in the business of trimmers. Now you are going to do so much experimentation in R&D so rapidly that you'll create so many themes that you will now, in a year from now, you'll have a product that's better than your Chinese supplier. In 2 years, it'll be even better. Now you've put capital into it, you've put a risk into it. But 2 years from now, you have the best product in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
Then you can really scale it also, right? So you could do that also.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. One more question I had for you is that, like, how we feel like, that we started with Bombay Shaving Company, we morphed into Bombay, kind of had a nice extension into women's hair removal. So now Bombay Shaving Company and Bombay are culture-coded, consumer-first hair expression brands, right? Collectively, we feel like this can get to maybe 1,500 to 2,000 crores of revenue. If we continue to do what we're doing right now, it's not A, implausible, and 2, it's not very long term. It's like in 3 to 4 years, we should get there. But if we want to build businesses bigger than this, and I think we should aim for building businesses bigger than this, then how do you think we should think about expansion? Like, if you want to build, let's say, a 4,000 crore top line business, we don't have a line of sight on the next 2,000 crores. Is there a playbook to think that these are all the things that we have zoomed out in 10 years through Bombay Shaving Company and Bombay, and hence it's more efficient at a capital and people level to, let's say, go into more categories of brands of this nature? Or is it to say, take these and kind of sell them to the whole world, or kind of go deeper in this in
so
different ways?
I think answers are within you, but you can't see those answers because it's like a doctor diagnosing themselves. So let's diagnose someone else and then we'll come back to take the learning. So let's say you are the consultant here, and you are being asked exactly the same question by a brand called Wheat in India. So I haven't looked at the numbers, and I'm not going to say any numbers. So how big do you think wheat is in India?
Like 2-3 years back, I think 700 crores.
700, 800 crores.
So let's say, let's call it 1,000 crores. Yeah. So let's say it's a 1,000 crore brand or 700, whatever it is. Now, you are the brand manager of wheat. You are thinking of the next 5 years. How big do you think you can make it?
$2,000 crore?
Okay. So 2,000 crores in a business that is primarily just creams and strips, focused really on high income, and medium income maybe to now, urban Indian women. And with a penetration level of, I don't know what it is, but I don't know, 5%, 10%?
Yeah.
So you are sitting there thinking, I have so much opportunity. Now if I look at your current portfolio, your portfolio is the wheat portfolio, plus you've got trimmers, plus you've got razors, plus you've got hair dryers, plus you've got blowers, plus you've got, I don't know what all fragrances. So why are you feeling that your opportunity is less than theirs? If you take them in one category and multiply that by 10 categories, they are sitting on maybe a 20,000 crore opportunity. But you are also sitting on the same 20,000 crore opportunity. You're not just seeing it.
Why are we not seeing it? Why don't we think like that for us? Why don't you think Bombay Shaving Company in Bombay can be 4,000 crores? Because it's a GT play that we might have to do.
Yeah, I think it can be current weaknesses
Yeah.
which we are not able to foresee. Second is maybe we have not seen it. That can be maybe which we require maybe someone else coming and saying that like this can be like 10x from here. And third is I think limited by our own capability to do multiple things at the same time, because again like we are talking about 5 categories. So how do we scale 5 categories together?
So let's just take one category.
Yeah.
Let's take trimmers, and let's take that for men for a moment, right?
Yeah.
So how many homes are there in India? Urban
Homes, I don't know, 100 million?
Yeah.
70 million.
70 million. Yeah.
Okay. 70. What percentage of them have trimmers today?
So trimmer penetration is 4%.
3 to 5%, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what share do you have out of that?
13%.
13%. So you have 4%, 13%. So you have 0.5% of 70 million households.
Yeah.
Okay. So now,
The moment you say it like that, it becomes very clear what we need to do.
so now from 0.5%, let's make it 5%. Right? So
The 10x. Yeah.
that's 10x. How big
Yeah.
is your trimmer business?
300 crores.
300 crore.
That's 3,000 crores. Now you are also going to be helped by the fact that the number of urban households will go from 70 million to 100 million.
Yeah.
So 40% of your growth will just come from there. And the rest of it is you just have to, now you have only one task, Shantanu, which is to convince 10% of households in India that buying a trimmer is a good idea.
So the question
over the
here,
next 10 years.
question here is, should we do this or market leader should do it?
Yeah.
Because we always grapple with that question.
We always love when the
Yeah.
market leader creates it and then we kind of go in and take that
Yeah.
incremental share.
So I
I
think
mean, that's
the other way to say it is whoever does this will become the market leader.
Yeah.
If the market leader does it, they'll become the market leader. If you do it, you will become the market leader.
And do you think we have the right to?
Well, given the penetration is basically 0, I'd say there is no real market leader here, no?
That's a good point, actually. If you think market back, then we have done nothing.
Yeah.
So
If you think category first, then we feel like
Yeah.
they've done a lot.
now to do this, you will need to develop millions of ZEMES.
Yeah.
So you'll need to do so many experiments. What is the right product? What is the right communication? What is the right kind of hair? Is it different by region?
Occasion, use cases, consumer.
Occasion, use cases, gifting, retailer, channel.
So to do this, what is the mode? Is it capital, or it is the right density of people, or it is like depth of expertise on certain channel?
I
like
think it is culture.
culture.
So I think it is culture which first of all creates that innovation, the ZEMES, and the second that creates the execution. So if you can build a culture that creates the experiments and a parallel culture that builds the on-ground execution, it will happen. And money chases opportunity. Opportunity never chases money.
There's never capital, there's never the mode.
So capital is never the problem. If you have a great enough idea, you will find the capital. If you did not find the capital, your idea was not great, or your execution was not great.
Incredible. Incredible.
And also, just given you are doing so much work with AI, on AI, and like I think so many things you have shared in like small lunch meeting, which was mind-boggling to share. To do this, because we always discuss that in last 20 years or 25 years, they are like, we can count on our fingers FMCG brands which have built more than 2,000 crore of business, like less than actually one hand. So, but now taking this to a future context, what kind of talent and skills are required to kind of
Talent
do this?
density question that you had.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is there are, sorry, what I'm going to say is going to sound a bit brutal, and it's a big challenge that's coming for all of us. So on one axis, if you put repetition, how repeatable the task is, or how much it. So if, for example, an accounting job, there is creativity in it, but a lot of it is repeatable. Creating content for Facebook ads. While the content may be creative, the activity is very repeatable, right? So on one side you have repeatability, high, low. On the other side you have sensitivity, which is high and low. So things that are not very sensitive, each individual decision is not very important. So if you create a new creative on Facebook and the cost is like 2 rupees, if it fails, then you don't really care and you just create another one, right?
Yeah.
So creativity is important, but not really. So in something like that, you are going to use AI to automate all of it. So if you have in your ecosystem 500 people who are creating creative, and I know this is going to sound heretical, and as a marketer I feel it, and this is this human creativity that is creating all of these things, you will be in a place where that creativity will be created to that level. I remember the thing about 1 million monkeys typing 1 million typewriters at random will produce the works of William Shakespeare.
Correct.
So essentially, as long as you can create a zine in the sense that you can create very fast with AI a piece of content, test it at no cost and kill it, that's a zine, right? And AI can allow you to create 1 million zines in the time that a human can create 3. So because you're creating so many more zines with AI so fast.
Actually, this is what Arjun was also talking about, the China content
Yeah.
factory.
So therefore, even though I'd love romantically for the human creativity there to be the key part, the hero, the
won't
sad
be.
thing is it's not going to be. So where is the human role there? The human talent density is in managing the AI, is in calibrating what good looks like, is in deciding how to improve the AI's functionality, is to decide how the AI can go from 1 million zines per day to 1 billion zines per day at a lower cost. And instead of having 300 people doing this across your agencies and yourself, you may have 2 people doing it, but your talent density has dramatically increased. So this is one. So across every company that I talk to, I say, define what are your core workflows that add the value to your company, which are the lifeblood of your company. Then put it into this matrix and say, is it highly repeatable and is it highly sensitive? So supposing you're Facebook and you're talking content moderation, highly repeatable should all be done by AI. But if you get it wrong and ban Donald Trump, so highly sensitive. So you want, in this scenario, in this quadrant, you want all decisions to be checked through a human. And now your human judgment really matters. And the talent density in that quadrant is to find humans with judgment and expose them to make the AI totally subservient to them. Then there are things where it's highly repeatable and it's not creative at all. Forget about even having a human in the workflow. The AI will just do it all. So I think what's going to happen is that organizations will be 10 times the size that they are today with the same number of people that they have today.
Right.
But it's just that the people will be doing different things, and a lot of what these people are doing will be controlling AI. So now if you think about talent density, think about it in this is one lens, and the other lens is you need to build a level of institutional knowledge that differentiates your company from other companies. Those zines need to be built through those people who need to carry that learning, and then as they interact with each other, those learnings interact in interesting ways that then result in interesting strategies or outcomes or ways of thinking about problems, and those people getting together is what creates the magic. So the question is, how do you create such people? And the answer is, you are very ambitious for what they can achieve. So if someone thinks they can achieve 100 crores, you need to make them aware that you actually know that they will do 100 and they may do 120. And if they required 20 people to do that, or 10 crores of investment, you're only going to give them 17 people and 8 crores of investment. Not because you don't have it, but because if you have a little scarcity on resources and a little stretch on expectations, then people start becoming innovative. When they become innovative, they try more experiments. When they try more experiments, they can generate more zines. The more zines they generate, the more value they add to themselves
and to the company.
So 2 buzzwords or like things, AI, how do we kind of continue to push organization to adapt AI and more, especially in the repetitive tasks, and second is scarcity. Because I think
So on AI adoption, you can't push the organization, because if you push the organization too much without doing it yourself, nobody is going to do it.
Yeah.
So I was showing Shantanu example. One of the people who works with me, amazing talented guy, but he's not a technical guy.
yeah.
So we built an app over 2 or 3 years, and it's very functional, very nice. We've got a nice team that does it, very qualified. And this guy got frustrated and said, "This is not working. I'm going to build it myself." And he vibe coded it. And people say that you can't vibe code; it doesn't work. And he's built something in 8 days without knowing a single line of coding, which the experience is fantastic. So, but if he had not done it, and he's very senior, if he had not done it,
The overall quality.
nobody would have done it, right? So the point about AI is, unless you are doing it and you are doing it personally,
Not going to work.
don't expect it's going to work.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Fair.
Adi, any advice for Deepak or me as at a personal level in terms of creating longevity, in terms of our own skill building outside of AI? Of course, I think AI is very clear, but what kind of mindset we should start developing given where we are and what we
Look,
want?
I think you guys are very aware and very self-aware and really focused on developing, and rather than telling you anything, I should be learning from you guys. But what I would say, one thing I'd say is, getting to this point in the business is hugely creditable. Getting from here to that 5,000 crores requires you to figure out the right strategic things to do. And then do those for 5, 6, 7 years consistently, and you will get there. So I'd say have faith that you'll get there.
Yeah.
But also just think of those strategic things and where you're going to build those ZEMES and that experimentation and knowledge within the company, and you will get there. But this next 10 years is going to feel very different from the first 10 years, and you're going to feel nostalgic and say, अरे तब ऐसे होता था और कितना मजा आता था और अब हम कैसे हो गए हैं.
We feel that a lot. Sometimes we do feel that a lot.
Yeah, and that's okay. It's totally what you should expect. Otherwise, you're not growing.
Absolutely.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
For me, it's like a magic show. The magician is taking new things out of the hat, and we'll love to see more and more of it as we interact. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.